How to prepare for a social work internship. I'm assuming you clicked on this video because you're about to start one. Congrats, that's so exciting. Let me know in the comments where you'll be interning. I am not an expert, but I have gone through 2 social work internships, and so I like to consider myself familiar with how to prepare. I do have other videos related to social work field placement and just social work as a whole, social work programs, studying social work, starting jobs, everything. So definitely check out those on the channel. But the number one that I want to refer you to is I have made a video about field placement a few months ago at this point that talked about tips for field placement and also kind of the general rundown of what it is and how it works. And so definitely watch that one as well. This one's going to have different information, but related information, sister information, if you will. So I'll link it for you, but that one's an important one to watch alongside this one. Without much further ado, how to prepare for a social work internship. The number one thing that you need to be really comfortable with and be really ready to do is be so ready to ask a lot of questions. So remember, if you are an intern, you are there to learn, and they know you're there to learn. They took you on because they know you're there to learn. And so if something is confusing, don't just think, oh, I'm gonna learn this later, I'm gonna figure this out later. Just ask the question. Even if it feels like you've already asked 20 questions, ask the question. And a big reason that is things can be weird to get used to. Every agency works different. Working in social work as itself is a lot different than being in social work class, and so it's going to be an adjustment and things are going to be confusing. There are going to be things that you won't know. Something social work is really guilty of is acronyms. Depending on which area of the field you're in, there will be different acronyms, but there's so many acronyms. And so if your new field supervisor is talking to you and they say any form of letters put together that you don't understand, be like, wait a second, what is that? What does that stand for? Schools is a big thing for that. Criminal justice that I'm in now is a big thing for that. Medical fields, it's a big thing for that. There's just so many terminology things. And so if someone says something and you don't know what it is, ask. But also some important questions to ask whenever you're getting used to your agency might be things like, how do clients get referred to us? When are clients terminated? How long do services usually last? What policy is there that guides what we do? You can even ask, like, how are caseloads assigned? How does a client show up to this agency and get assigned to you? Ask the details, because then everything will start to make sense a lot quicker. The second thing to be thinking about whenever you're preparing to enter your social work internship is to know what you are expecting and what you're really hoping for as far as your internship experience goes. Both of my social work internship experiences were very positive, were very good. Some people's obviously aren't, just because sometimes 2 personalities are matched together that don't go well together, you know? Or sometimes an agency might have different expectations than you have and than your school has. So that's why it's important to be familiar with what you're expecting from the agency and also what you're hoping for, like what you want to get out of your internship. What kind of things would be deal breakers for you? So some things to consider are, is the agency planning on giving you like dedicated supervision time, an hour set aside each week or every other week where someone will be pouring into you as a social worker, there to support you, give you advice, help you process all of that. If you want dedicated time like that, know that you want that so that you can make sure it's gonna happen for you. Maybe you're someone who likes being given a rundown and then just kind of thrown to the wolves and left to do your own thing. You're not expecting too much support. Or maybe you're someone who knows that you'd like a lot of support as you're getting more clients and have like time to debrief after you interact with the client and time to be told essentially step by step what you're doing. So know your kind of learning style and what you're expecting from your internship. Like I said, so as it begins and as it starts, you'll be able to identify, oh, I think I'd like this thing to change. Oh, I'm really glad that this thing is going the way it is. Be aware of your expectations, because I want you to get out of your social work internship what you're wanting to get out of your social work internship. You just got to know what that is for you. Something really huge as you are beginning your social work internship is to know how your agency does documentation. Every single agency does this just a little bit different, and this is something that you might hear about in class, but I personally didn't really learn anything about documentation until I was actually in an internship. Just to give a little rundown, the 411, social workers document pretty much everything that you do. If you don't document it, it didn't happen. And so for me right now, policy of the agency that I work for is really strict on like the kinds of documentation, when you do them, how long you have to do them, what form you do them in. It's very regimented. Now my BSW internship at a school was very much more self-guided, where it was like, well, you just make sure you document, period, that was it. So ask your supervisor or the other social workers who work around you, how do you document? What do you document? How long do you have before it's late? Who is the documentation available to? Because that's really important to know confidentiality wise, like what you put in your documentation. Something that I've seen come up a lot is SOAP notes. Never learned it in class, only learned it in my internships, but go ahead and look up SOAP notes if you would like. Basically, I guess that's something I could do a video on in the future, but SOAP notes are, you have subjective, objective, assessment, and plan. Subjective is when you set up the context. For example, this was the 5th meeting of anger management group. The curriculum planned for the day was titled this. There were 8 members in attendance. context. Objective is what happened. No opinions or anything, just like state the facts, what happened, who said what, where'd the conversation go, where'd the group go, etc. Assessment is your clinical interpretation of that. So I don't know why I'm doing group notes as an example whenever I very much have individual experience, but I'm gonna switch it to individual assessment. I'll talk about the mood and the affect of the person I was just with, if they were engaged, if they seemed distracted, what stage of change they presented in, if they reported anything that I need to take further action on. Your clinical interpretation of what happened. And the P part is the plan, and it's just what you're gonna do next. So it's either gonna be social worker will follow up with client in future session, or social worker will send client referral documents for whatever it is. That's a common form of documentation, the SOAP notes, but your agency likely will have their own kind of thing going on, so check and see what that is when you're starting. As you're preparing to start your internship, I want you to know that a lot of your internship will be finding your personal style as a social worker. Now, obviously there are things you can do that will be wrong, like ethically, there are rights and wrongs in social work, but as far as style goes, there's no one correct way. Every social worker interacts with clients differently, intervenes with clients differently, assesses clients differently, and so much of your internship will be practicing actually interacting with clients, because you've learned in social work class a lot of things, but you're gonna actually be interacting with clients in your internship. And so this is kind of where the switch flips, where you are truly becoming like a social worker who can handle situations, who can de-escalate crises, who can empower clients through interaction, whatever it is. A lot of it will be interpersonal, meaning a lot of it is going to be you finding your style and how you feel comfortable doing that. That being said, a lot of your growth as an intern will be personal, but make sure that you can muster up the confidence to ask for more support, ask for help, ask for clarification when needed, because you would always rather preemptively ask for help or ask for clarification than to accidentally mess something up and have to go back and fix it. Now, you're going to make mistakes as an intern because it's your first time doing it. I've made mistakes, everyone makes mistakes, but you want to make sure that your mistakes are ones that can be fixed. And so being proactive with learning about what you're supposed to do, what you're not supposed to do, how you're supposed to document, what you're supposed to report and when to other people. Knowing all of that makes it a lot less likely that you would mess up in some sort of serious way. But muster up the courage, muster up the confidence, even if you've already been told something 3 times before, but you're still just not positive, ask before doing if you're unsure, because you're an intern. And so people are around you to support you. And like I already said, you would rather ask beforehand than have to fix something if something's already gone wrong or already been missed. A good action step as you are preparing for your social work internship is to read and be familiar with professional conduct and the code of ethics for social work. The code of ethics is like the law of the land in social work. Read it, be familiar with it, know what is ethical and what is not ethical. A lot of it is common sense, but there are some things that might be ethical dilemmas or you may feel like are kind of gray. So be familiar with the code of ethics, and that is also something that you can always bring up in supervision if there's any kind of ethical dilemma you come across and you're not sure how to process or how to proceed. Ask the people who have been around it before. Because again, you may have already read it, you may have known it from school, you may have had to do projects on it, papers on it, something, but since your social work internship will be your first time truly interacting with clients in this type of way, you just gotta be so extra aware of it. Because as a social worker, obviously you are not your client's friend, you're their social worker, right? There's boundaries to set, there's ways to approach people, there's ways not to approach people, there's ways to intervene, there's ways not to intervene. So just know it, be familiar with it, because you're ready to apply it. As you head into your internship, make sure to make good use of your cohort, the people who are students doing it alongside you. If there's another intern that's at your same agency, awesome, be their teammate. But there 100% are other students at your school who are at the same time of their program, time of their life as you, and so use them, talk to them, support them, be supported by them. You're not the only one that's going to go through this experience, so whatever maybe nerves you're feeling, apprehension, excitement about starting your internship soon, they're feeling that too. Make good use of your cohort. Lastly, be prepared for the big adjustment that your internship will be, because it is so different being in the field. Like, this is one of the quickest deep dives, like dive off the deep end, that you will take, in that you're going from class into an agency with real clients. And so with that, it can feel overwhelming. It can feel like an adjustment. Imposter syndrome could run high. I'm listing a lot of bad things. I'm not trying to scare you. You're going to be exposed to a lot more than maybe you have been up to this point. And so have grace with yourself. Be prepared to self-care. I do plan on making future videos more deep in self-care, but I'll link some of the ones in the description that other people have made that I find to be really helpful, because you want to be proactive with that self-care, in that you're not in crisis mode before you remember, oh yeah, I'm supposed to do things that I enjoy and that take care of myself. You want to be incorporating that into your day-to-day ways so that you can properly support yourself as you're going through this internship too, because it is a big adjustment. So have grace with yourself. It's hard to make big adjustments. It's exciting. It's so exciting going into your internship, but it also is a big time of life. Like, that's awesome. But every day is going to look really different than your days have looked most likely up to this point. If there's any way I can be support to you, or if you have any further questions, obviously reach out. Make sure to watch the other social work videos that I do have on my channel because I've been making them. So if you're curious about anything, there may be a video about it already. Good luck as you enter this time of your life. This is so exciting, so cool, and I'll see you next time.